Hi everyone, I'm Ashley Torres. I'm a media director on behalf of Wright Art Twins Media. We are here today to get to know one of our first artists for this new media platform that we are launching. His name is Francisco Sanchez. He's a very talented artist, and we're just going to get to know a little bit about him and what inspires his art and his interests.
Hello, hi, how are you? Well, my name is Francisco Sanchez. I'm a modern abstract and surrealist artist. I'm 26 years old. I live in Richardson. I originally am from Mexico City, but I've been here my whole life. And that's a little bit just about who I am. I have a lot of inspirations on what drives me to paint and what drives me to keep painting and what the subjects are of my paintings. I would say that definitely the provoking side of things it goes without saying. I like to touch on subjects that are difficult for people to talk about. For example, I have a painting that's hanging there. I met someone once and they told me that it was just to eat your heart out, and you know, that's the beauty about art, the art that anyone could just tell you what they feel. And then they asked me what my inspiration was, and I was like, as a gay immigrant, I get discriminated against for just being who I am. And so what got me to paint that was, you know, it doesn't matter what that thing looks like. It still has a human heart, and that's who we are. We're human. We're human people. So that's the kind of things I touch on with my art. It's very a lot from just personal experience that I've just, you know, breakups. I mean, my grandma dying and I didn't really know her that well. You know, our current administration, the jokes that we have as a country, and you know, how we're just a laughing stock for the rest of the world has also put me in a place where I need to speak my mind and my voice and throw that into a canvas and just show everyone how much I'm outraged as an individual.
Yeah, that's beautiful. On that note, you talk about certain like controversies, feelings, things you go through, which makes sense because a lot of artists, we start through our emotions, like art is an emotion, right? But what would you say started your creative journey? Like what got you into making art?
That's a wonderful question. I've said this before to people, and I continue to say it. I think I just was born with just the talent, and I know that may come off as like self-absorbed or whatever, but I just always was that kid, you know, that people were like, hey, you know, just ask Francisco, he'll sketch it out for you, and he'll draw it for you or whatever. And I just took it for granted for a really long time. And so I think for me, it's just I need to just have inspiration to paint because I think the craft is there. I've never had to push myself to paint something without it seeing it in my head first. And it's like a etch and sketch. I see it in my head and it's there, and I can't shake my head and get rid of the image until it's on the canvas. So I think it's just something I've had my entire life. I mean, I'm speaking like I'm 40, I'm only 26, but yeah, definitely. I think the one thing that got me to pursue this as just, you know, my ambition in life to just be a successful big living artist. In my junior year in high school, I did a painting that's actually at the entrance right there, and I'll show you guys in a minute, on the left side. Yeah. I did that, and it's just mixed media, and I was really inspired by changes I was going through in my life, my family being poor, you know, being closeted gay, and all these other things. It was just a hue of emotions and expressions. And my teacher said, I really like your painting. Would you be interested in entering an art competition? I'm like, sure. I was just like, and still taking it for granted. I'm like, okay, whatever, don't care. Sure, yeah. Luckily, I got second place in that competition, and it was a congressional competition that got judged by Eddie Bernice Johnson, which is one of the Texas congresswomen, and that painting was at the Capitol on display for 2 weeks. I unfortunately never got to see it because I just was in high school. I didn't have the mediums to get over to Austin and look at it. But I know that it was great because I got exempt from finals from art, and I got an A automatically. So just for being part of the show or the competition, I'm sorry. And even then, I still took it for granted.
You still did.
I didn't at the time know who Eddie Bernice Johnson was or what having a congressional recognition signed by her meant. So I just rolled it up and collected dust. And it wasn't until I met my husband and I said, oh, hey, look, you want to see this painting? It's dusty and all that. It's collecting. It's just sitting there. And he has a big part in this because he was like, you really have something there and you should pursue this and continue to push yourself to paint and see where it goes. And so my family and my husband have been a big part of why I'm doing this, because they continue to push me to this thing.
So you would say they gave you like the spark to make this more of your career?
Yeah. I had friends that, friends, quote unquote, that just never had the push, like, hey dude, you should really, I was just hanging around with the wrong people.
Well, that's great. Well, I hear that you started through friends and loved ones pushing you, and then you are a person who feels, and that's what motivates you to keep painting. Like you have that image in your head and it doesn't get out, and you just have to paint it. Totally get that. But since we're artists, we always hit stumps, right? So what would you say some of the biggest obstacles you've hit trying to pursue this career?
I think definitely time, just having extra time has been a tough obstacle for me to just sit here in the living room or in my media room where I paint and just, I have a whole entire encyclopedia of paintings in my head that I could just do one after the other, but I just don't have the time. That would be one of the biggest obstacles that I have faced, because life gets in the way. You have to go to work and you have to do this, and we have the dogs, and if that's not,
you didn't have to sleep.
Yeah, and then you get sick or whatever, and mind you, I've painted while I was sick, and it was great. But I think that, and then just time, and I mean, I'm really thankful that there's people like the Wright twins that provide a bigger voice. That's also been another obstacle, but that's overcome. Before that, I was just painting, and I just had paintings here and there, and they went nowhere.
So what would you say are some artists that either you've met or you already knew before you started that inspired you?
I haven't met, I'll never meet Salvador Dali, and I don't know if I'll ever meet Lady Gaga, which is one of my big idols. I have definitely met local artists like the Twins. I've met. I'm a huge art collector too, and I follow some of these artists like on Instagram and stuff. And when we get to my room, I'll show you some of the pieces that I have. A lot of the artists that I like are really bold and very unapologetic and in a good way. They're not out to offend the public or anything like that. So I feel that with all the artists that inspire me that I haven't met or that I never will meet or that I have met, I grab a little bit of who they are and apply it to myself and try to just sketch out my success, like my road to success. And their teachers. Anyone that's bigger than anybody else is a teacher, and I feel like a lot of artists should be seen that way, because the arts are very underrated and they're very, taken for granted. And so I see a lot of, for example, Dali, and Dali he morphed into something other than just paint, and he went over to fashion, and he did jewelry, and he did films with Disney, and he did short films when he was in college, and he got thrown out of a college class because his teacher told him, "You're not that great," and he didn't take it, and to some extent, I like to think that everyone is amazing, but no one can tell you that you're not great. And so that was one of the big things that I got from him, was that I not only do I want to believe it, I want everyone else to see how great I can be, or how great anyone else can be. So I take a lot of little things like that, like Lady Gaga is so cutting edge. And
would you see any surrealism in Lady Gaga's style?
Absolutely. There's I can point out a couple of them, like on the Applause music video. She references Jeff Koons, which is another amazing artist that I would love to meet one day. He got the chance to actually meet Dali, so I'd like to get to meet him and ask him, how was your experience? But anyway, going back to that, she references Jeff Koons, and she has a part where she's a what's the word I'm looking for? Not a duck.
Swan.
She's a swan, yes. Thank you. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
She's a swan, and then she has her hand on the swan. And, she may have her meaning of what drove her to do that during the video. To me, it's just, you can be whatever you want, but don't forget who you are. And you can manipulate yourself however you want. And, but yeah, I totally see that in her. There's a whole bunch of things, like when she talked during the Born This Way era, she talked about body transfiguration, and she had those fake implants to make her cheekbones look triangular and all that stuff. It's like, it's art. It's what she wants to let everyone just be yourself.
I would have never connected those two things, but it makes sense. There is surrealism in Lady Gaga. But I guess what I'm pinpointing is that you really are into surrealism and it conveying like a message that a lot of people universally would understand. Like if I saw your painting, your goal is for me to understand, and it hit home in some way to me or a loved one that I know, or just a societal message that affects all of us, right?
Yeah.
And then that being said, right? What are your main mediums? Like, what are your main mediums that you like to use?
So I would say about 95% of the time I work with acrylics. And I've been able to master, if you will, the speed and complexity of acrylics, because they dry so fast and it's so frustrating and they're hard to blend. That's it. That's one of my main one. I do use melted, or I melt crayons.
Melted crayons, right? That's great.
I do that. The painting right behind us is actually, as an artist, I have a different vision for what I want to paint, how I want to go about it. One of my things as an artist is that whenever I paint, I do it for my eyes and for my own mental health. I don't have any mental issues, but it helps me cope with a lot of things.
Like you're zen.
Yeah, and I'm just lucky that people like it. I'm really lucky that, and I just started, this is how they found me. The twins found me through Instagram. I started with no followers and I just posted because I just wanted, part of the motivation. My husband was like, you need to do something with it.
About the mediums you wanted to get into in 2019. With that being said, what are your aspirations, your goals for next year? Like at the end of 2019, what do you want to be able to tell people you've accomplished?
My biggest dream, I'm sorry,
You're good.
because I'm going like 10,000 miles per hour when I because this is my biggest dream, you know. So one of the things that I mentioned to people is I want to be able to say I was in Good Morning America or something like that to talk about my art and how much of an impact I want to make on this world before I die, because I want to be a living artist. And so realistically for next year, I just want to be able to say that, you know, I've sold a whole lot more paintings. I'm in D magazine, or I have a published article in the Dallas Observer, something major like that. And it's baby steps, you know. I know overnight nothing's gonna happen.
Gotta keep grinding.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay, so do you have any huge projects that you already have in your head that you need to get done?
So
your to-do list.
Yeah, of course. So this year for Thanksgiving week, me and my husband went to Colorado Springs, and there's a venue there where they bring in artists from all over the world, and I'm more specifically musicians. They're at the venue from Australia, you know, New England. This time around that we were there was a gentleman, I can never say his last name, but Jim Salestrom or Salestrom. However, I may have just destroyed that. He used to be in Dolly Parton's band. He's an Emmy award winner, and he's done work for John Denver, which is a huge American singer-songwriter. I got the chance to meet him, and I got during the performance, I was able to see everything that he was singing about. And this is like a 100 to 200 person venue, so it's really small, and there's an intermission in between. So I got the chance to talk to him and tell him, hey, I was really inspired tonight by your lyrics, and I really feel the music industry needs more people like you to continue to make great music. We shook hands. He gave me a buffalo nickel, which I'd only ever heard of. I've never even seen one. And so one of my big projects this year is to make a painting based on his songs and send it to him, and just create a connection and some form of friendship to hopefully maybe get the right eyes to see my art. So for next year, that's probably my biggest push, you know, since I've gotten to meet someone that's in the entertainment industry, and with someone that's worked with, you know, Dolly Parton's huge. So hopefully something comes out of there. I want to take advantage or, you know, make it that way, but
it's also always great to collab and meet new artists in any field of art that is. Well, I'm excited for your projects. I've loved getting to know a little bit about you and your art, and we will get to see more of your studio space and your art, which will be great to know more about, since you pointed some out during the interview. But to wrap things up, you having started painting and knowing the struggles you hit, obstacles you hit, and accomplishments you hit, and people you meet, and how it is to pursue this, what would you say to a fellow artist just about to begin? What would be your advice?
Biggest piece of advice is never forget about yourself, because this is in the long road for you. At least that's how I see it for me. When I paint, and I'll say it again, I'll just reiterate, I paint for myself, and I'm just really lucky that people like my work. So for anyone starting, I would just say, don't give up, because this is a competition as well. There's thousands and thousands of and millions of talented artists, and we all need our light to shine, and just work for it, you know, because you need to make the things happen. And who knows, maybe the Wright Artisans will be a huge corporation in years to come, so it'll be an easier platform. So my biggest piece of advice would be just don't give up. Just keep trying, and like you said, keep writing, and you'll get there.
Well,
you.
Again, you guys, this was Francisco Sanchez. He's a great artist. He has so many good things coming up for this new year that's coming up. And then if you want to share, because you really got to go check his art out and go check out his page and know more about him. So if you want to share your pages, that would be great.
Yeah, of course. So my Instagram will be at FCOLYRA, and on Facebook I'm under Francis Colyra. That's COLYRA.
Well, go check him out. You will not regret it. And I loved getting to know you, and I had a great time. And I'm excited to see more of your art.
Of course. Thank you.